challenges which are arising day to day. Therefore, global governance is extremely important and essential to prevent these global challenges. For the sake of our future generations, for the stability of our planet, and for the survival of humanity, global governance is extremely important. Therefore, I would like to conclude my speech by stating that humanity should establish global governance for artificial intelligence and natural resources in the interest of planetary survival. Thank you.
One minute to start. Now presenting the opening opposition, I would like to call upon Pratik Koirala.
A warm good morning to everyone present here. Today, I, Pratik Koirala, stand firmly against the motion on the topic, should we establish a global governance system for AI ethics and natural resources in the interest of planetary survival. So let's get straight to the point. Do you seriously think that superpowers like Russia, China and the USA would want to work together? Of course not. They have been in many wars. They are competing with each other at this moment right now in every single sector that you can think of, in economy, in tech, in politics, everything, in every single sector that you can think of that can be developed, that can help humanity reach the second part or reach tomorrow. All of these superpowers are competing right now. So, do you seriously think an intergovernmental organization would be enough to control all these superpowers? Of course not. Tech giants like Nvidia, OpenAI, etc. will have much more knowledge about AI and other type of technological things. So, with these superpowers and with these tech giants and their knowledge on these type of topics, do you think that they would be willing to share these and distribute these equitably with all the other countries over here? Of course not. Now let's get to the second part, complexity. It would be so complex to actually control everything revolving around AI and climate change itself. So, would you rather stitch a tear on your T-shirt rather than would you rather stitch a tear on your T-shirt or buy a whole other new T-shirt? Of course, you'd stitch a tear, and the tear right now is climate change and the way AI is evolving rapidly. We don't need to go through the hassle of another chaotic way to make another intergovernmental organization. Plus, these intergovernmental organizations can be filled with corruption to the brim. Let's talk about the last time these superpowers actually worked together. During World War II, the USSR, USA worked together to defeat the Empire of Japan and Nazis. 5 years later, they went into the Cold War. So that was not the expected outcome. This organization cannot contain and comprehend the power of these superpowers of the world. These superpowers already have enough manpower and other stuff to deal with. And another thing is, would you seriously want to control like all of the AI, managing all of the AI and the way that this AI is evolving right now? By the time we can intergovernmental organization actually work, actually establish, and actually do everything that it's actually supposed to do, AI and climate change would have worsened, and climate change would have worsened by 10 times. AI could easily been developed over 100 times. It would be even harder to conclude. As Elon Musk once said, AI is more dangerous than nukes. That I find to be true. Would you? AI in the hands of a wrong person, or let's say in the hands of a corrupted global organization, can easily lead to the end of the world. So by saying that, I'd like to conclude my points here. Thank you.
Thank you for your great viewpoint. Continuing the proposition's argument, may we invite Speaker to Mimi Lama Thamang from the
As the counter entity, we welcome Speaker to Aditya Bhasne to the stage.
A warm good morning to honorable judges, respected teachers, and everyone present today. I'm truly grateful to be standing in front of you all in the final round of this debate championship.
Today I stand in favor of the motion. Today I stand in favor of the topic, should humanity establish a system of global governance for artificial intelligence and natural resources in the interest of planetary survival? Starting off with one of the biggest key factors and highlights of today's modern world, artificial intelligence (AI) has been developing at a very fast pace. It can even it can improve education, healthcare, communication, scientific researches, etc. But as Newton's short law states, every action has its equal and opposite reaction. Artificial intelligence (AI) can also spread fake news quickly, can threaten privacy, and even be used in warfare. Can even be used in warfare. If every country tends to follow different rules and regulations, then misuse can become very easy. A system of global governance can ethically develop artificial intelligence responsibly for the sake of humanity and planetary survival. Our planet consists of natural resources like water, minerals, forests, fossil fuels, etc., which are in a very limited amount. Due to over exploitation of these natural resources, due to over exploitation of these natural resources, the entire world has been facing a very drastic situation. The environmental pollution does not only follow national borders. The environmental pollution created by one country affects the entire world, and this is not to be taken lightly. And this is not to be taken lightly. For example, taking the example of our country, Nepal, Nepal has been and is constantly facing challenges of air pollution, a large amount of which is transboundary from originating from India, and this is very hard to tackle for Nepal. Although Nepal and India should take accountability for these actions, it is very difficult to tackle these problems for a single nation. So using global governance and shared rules, it can be easier to tackle these problems and work for the betterment of our planets. Global governance does not only mean loss of nations' freedom, sovereignty, and autonomy, etc. In fact, it means working together with common goals, responsibility, and fairness for the survival of our planet. For the survival of our planet. A system of global governance can be betterment for not only today but for the future generations as well. In conclusion, artificial intelligence and natural resources artificial intelligence and natural resources are such powerful tools, but without global rules and cooperation, such powerful tools can also become serious threats. Therefore, for ethical AI development and environmental protection, and for the survival of our planet, I would like to end my speech by saying that establishing a system of global governance is not only important but it is very essential. Thank you.
Let's imagine a situation. You have a single piece of bread and your friend in the other hand has plenty. Would you share it? Of course you wouldn't. It's a matter of life and death. And in that situation, we all would eat the piece of bread. Good morning, everyone. Honorable panel of jury, respected teachers, friends, and everybody present in this room. I am Aditya Vasnas from Great Nirvana, standing in front of you all, speaking against the motion on the topic, should humanity establish a global governance of AI and natural resources in the interest of planetary survival. Let me explain it in few points. Firstly, as my teammate has already said, sovereignty erosion. Everybody wants to have control in today's world, and everybody has control. In their own separate fields, they are already a superpower. Who would want to lose that control? Nobody. And that's how a global system feels. Everybody wants to have a piece of control over their field, and nobody wants to give up their control. Secondly, geopolitical gridlocks and rivalries. In the day where everybody has their own enemies, they wouldn't want to collaborate. And my fellow debater said that every action has its equal and opposite reaction. Making global government would mean that there would be many opposite reactions, and many countries wouldn't want to cooperate with one another. Thirdly, I'd like to point out to the fact of innovations stifling. Everybody has their own pace. You can't put a car's engine into an airplane, and let it run. Everybody has their own pace in the world, and they are moving in their own pace, and they have been doing it. They are succeeding it, and who would want to lose in their own field? Thirdly, I want to point out the fact of risk of captures of the elite. We are already in a system where the rich, the powerful, the wealthy ones control everything. How many more systems would you want to create where they would amplify the problem and there would be no solutions? I would like to conclude my speech by saying that survival is the one where the best survive and the worst ones don't. We already know who wins. Thank you.
Thank you for that thought-provoking response. To conclude the proposition side for this round, may we invite Speaker 3 Subramanian from the affirmative team.
To wrap up the opposition speech, we will invite Shilashika Thakur to the podium.
Good morning to the respected panel of jury, special guests here, my friends and peers who I've known for many years, the teachers who have taken time out of the day here. Today, I am going to be giving my take on why global governance should be established for artificial intelligence and natural resources. So let's first let's think of what actually harms the planet, what actually threatens the planet's survival. That is pollution, of course. Now let's look at how AI is affecting the pollution. In fact, studies have found that AI is producing 5 times the lifetime emissions of in just carbon amounts. And the AI training produces about 283,493 kilograms of carbon into the atmosphere. This is an absurd amount of carbon. Now this has effects, this has aftermaths to this. Let's think about all the forests, let's think about all the different natural resources that are getting wasted here. Let's think on the natural resources side first and foremost. Now, let's think, what countries have a lot of natural resources, a lot of mineral resources, let's say. Uranium, for example, a big resource nowadays for nuclear power and for nuclear weapons. Metals like iron, gold, others are also economically very important, as well as can be used to make guns, bullets, etc. This only threatens global peace more than anything. Let's think of Germany, let's think of USA, let's think of Russia. All these military superpowers all have access to these uranium substances that can be used to make these nuclear weapons. Now, is it really good for all of them to make these nuclear weapons? Is it really good for all of them to threaten this global peace that we already have? It is very much not. And to control this, global governance is incredibly necessary. Now, speaking of this, radium is another substance that is being abused by these global superpowers. All of these substances right here is the main reason for threatening global peace. Only global governance can bring this type of global peace. Let's also think about the global warming caused by the training of artificial intelligence. We can look at Maldives, for example. They hosted a meeting in 2011 stating that they will go underwater. And that is very true. Maldives has been sinking as of recent, and that is because of your ChatGPT getting trained. That is because of your Sora AI getting trained. That is because of your Perplexity getting trained. Now, this type of carbon emission is no good for our planetary survival. That's why a global governance system should always be established for this type of situation. With this, I would like to conclude my debate, and we all know which side will win.
Concentrated power for survival is the greatest threat ever devised against humanity. Good morning and warm regards to the esteemed panel, jury, respected audience, and my fellow debaters. I am Sanashika Thakur from Gated Moksha, here to speak against the motion, should humanity establish a system of global governance for artificial intelligence and human resources in the interest of planetary survival. First and foremost, we've all seen how global governing bodies work. For example, the United Nations has been around for decades and it still can't do anything. There is still a civil war in Sudan, a genocide in Gaza, a genocide in China, a war in Ukraine, and so many more, while the United Nations does nothing and says we condemn the act by the country. Who is to say that this global body would not have a power like the veto power, where superpowers can control the decisions being made? I'll tell you, a clip has been surfacing all around of the decision of the Palestinian ceasefire, where every other country votes for the ceasefire, but US says no, and every other decision is turned around. Is that fair? No. My proposition wants to talk about how AI and dominance go hand in hand, but so do global governing bodies and the superpowers. Superpowers will control anything and everything, especially if there is a global governing body, because global governing bodies are puppets of those superpowers. First and foremost, I would like to. Moreover, I would like to give you guys a stat. More than 262 million social media carbon footprints are present in the world. This is twice more than what an AI prompt generates. Is that not like a bigger threat to planetary survival? But we all use social media here. The video recording is probably going to be posted on our school social media. I'm sure most of these topics and the speeches here have also been AI generated, or the data has been taken from AI. AI is such a big integral part of our lives that we cannot seem to ignore it, no matter how much we try. Also, 70% of rare earth minerals is controlled by China. When we have a global governing body, it means that we institutionalize this superpower. It means that we don't give startups chance, which is why what will happen. I don't know where my proposition sees global peace, because my proposition said that AI would hamper global peace. Let me tell you data. A decade ago, when AI was not invented, most of the wars were fought with ammunitions that killed lives. But today, drone wars are an integral part of conflicts, and they do not cause loss of lives. In fact, artificial intelligence has been helping us to not lose lives while trying to assert dominance. A global body will not do anything. Okay, forget all of this. Moreover, if we have a global governing body, the amount of carbon footprints produced by the flights taken by the delegates all over the country to hold summits will rival the emission it is trying to reduce. It is just this greater irony. My proposition wants to talk about planetary survival, but we have all these confettis over here, plastic bottles on our judges' tables, that is probably going to end up in landfills, and that can be controlled by us. But the use of artificial intelligence can be controlled by us. It's very basic. If you want to control planetary survival, if you want to control pollution, you need to do things you can do and not go humping on the bigger problems. Like Prithvi Narayan once suggested that if he wanted to win Kathmandu, he had to win the smaller towns around Kathmandu and then win over Kathmandu. You cannot just criticize AI and its impact on planetary survival while doing all of this. It is unfair. I'm sure most of them use gel pens. I'm sure most of them change refills tens and thousands annually, and that does not concern them. But the use of AI does. And I in no way support the wrongdoings done by AI, but that is what mankind is. Mankind will use anything given to them in the wrong way. And that is something that must have regulations, but it must not be done by a global governing body, and it must be done by local governments or the federal government of the nation itself. Because if there is a global governing body, it will always cater to the superpowers. It will always support the P5 nations. With this, I would like to say it is competition that creates creativity, and which is why we should not have governing bodies control and institutionalize superpowers and let smaller countries or startups thrive through technologies or AI. Thank you.
Now we move on to the rebuttal round, the phase where arguments meet the toughest test. Each team will have now 3 turns to respond, refute, and reinforce their take. Who will not be changed though? If you want to rebuttal, please come forward.
You're in the same team that said AI is more dangerous than nukes, and you're saying limiting the global superpowers is the good thing here. Limiting nukes is the good thing here. AI is mostly focusing on intent of people. And also AI is indeed more dangerous than looks. Yes, I agree with that. But here is the thing: AI is the main threat to humanity right now. Humanity is indeed the main threat to humanity because AI is indeed the knowledge of all of humanity. But you said humanity is not like that. Well, AI is indeed like that. AI will destroy us. AI will think of different intents to destroy us here.
Oh, how wish my opponent heard my speech carefully. I mentioned how artificial intelligence helped reduce loss of life in wars. I mentioned how with the use of technologies such as drones, we don't see loss of life in war zones. And that is what I meant when I said it limits superpowers as it does not let them kill other people.
So it limits superpower as it doesn't let them kill more people. But superpowers are the ones with the most resources to create the AIs, so aren't they? So isn't your point a bit hypocritical here?
My competitor is saying that AI is bad and AI is this and that. Do you think early humans were questioning themselves, should we use the stone to kill animals? Of course they were not questioning that. They were not questioning whether it would hit any humans, it would hurt them, would it be a threat to them. They were using that to kill animals, to progress forward, and that's what AI does. It helps humanity, not destroying them. Thank you.
One more, Hazel.
Thank you, everyone. You may go back to your seats.
Yes, well done.
And now, we proceed to the round two with a new and equally stimulating topic, a fresh motion, a fresh battlefield of ideas. May I invite participants to please kindly come up to the stage. Shriyan Sharma, Ishana Shah, Vidyot Maltikari, Vision Panti, Ryan Shrestha and Asesha Farka, please come up to the stage.
Ryan, diary is back. Take the A4 size paper. Ishana, distribute these among them. Can we use this? Three days. Topic you can use. Rebuttal points you can keep on the table.
To open the proposition for this round, may we invite Speaker 1, Vision Panti from Affirmative Team, please.
And to challenge those points with logic and analysis, let us invite Ishana Shah.
Good morning, respected judges, my teachers, my dear friends and fellow opponents. Today, me, Bhushan Bhatti from grade 9 Inception, stand in front of you, speaking for the motion on the topic. Is the concept of one globe, one country a necessary evolution of human civilization or a utopian threat to identity, sovereignty, and freedom? Let me tell you a story. Before borders, before countries, and before flags, what existed were tribes. Not just one single tribe, many tribes. Tribes were a group of humans, about 30 to 50 as estimated by anthropologists. They divided and they existed in such small numbers because at that time the earth was a battlefield and division used to be survival. Resources were scarce and even nature itself reinforced division. Mountains separated people, deserts hardened them and oceans completely split them apart. But look at us now. We live in an age where we can send messages across continents in under milliseconds. Over 5 billion people are using internet. Isn't the globe already one? Isn't the globe already one? The only thing dividing us is governance, is the artificial lines that we created and nature did not. If we don't face the limitations our ancestors did, why do we still cling on to division? Why do we still cling on to fragmentation? Moving on. Let's talk about the development and evolution of humans with the different forms of cooperation. First, there were tribes. Then the tribes formed into villages, the villages into kingdoms, the kingdoms into nations. There was once a time when uniting two villages seemed impossible. Don't we live in a country formed by the unification of many different kingdoms? We live in Nepal, right? If that is possible, why isn't the unification of the whole globe possible? We already are one ecosystem, economically, digitally, technologically, and we are one single species. The only thing dividing us is governance. Take a look at climate change. Climate change, according to United Nations, 2024 was the hottest year ever recorded. And the global temperature has rise by 1.1 degrees Celsius than pre-industrial levels. Global warming does not stop at borders. And take a look at COVID-19. There have been over 7 million recorded deaths according to World Health Organization. COVID-19 did not check for your passport, did it? It did not. Definitely did not. We already face crisis at a global level. When we face problems, we form international organizations. Take a look at European Union. Take a look at the United Nations. Take a look at International Criminal Court. Take a look at all those international organizations. All of them are just examples of humans unifying to solve problems, because not all problems can be solved by a single nation. It needs unification. United we stand, divided we fall. One more thing. The World Bank has stated that over 700 million people are living in extreme poverty, and 1% of the Earth's richest people control 45% of global wealth. And one more thing, a child born on one side of the border inherits poverty, inherits a lower life expectancy, and a child born on the other side of the border inherits a better life expectancy, inherits wealth. How is that fair? Is that just? Did they choose in the womb to be born in a different country? No, they did not. They're just facing results of fragmentation. They're just facing results of artificial lines created by us humans. According to Wikipedia, there are over 12,100 nukes present in the world today. If a war were to break out between two nations, the whole globe would be affected. Not just those nations, the whole globe. We would be threatened for nuclear winter. Humanity has the power in the whole history to destroy itself now. It's our choice to either stand united or either divide. The question is not whether we must stand united. The question is whether we can exist as a species by dividing ourselves forever. Thank you.
Will the government really be able to listen to the needs and the opinions of 8 billion people? A world government sounds nice until you realize you can't unelect them. Or if a government goes bad, then you can't do anything about it. You can't run away anywhere. Immanuel Kant once said that a world government is the most terrible of all tyrannies because there is no way of escaping it. Good morning to all the respected individuals over here, esteemed guests, respected teachers, and all the students present over here. I'm Ishana Shah from grade 10, here to support the motion that is the concept of one globe, one country is a utopian threat to sovereignty, identity, and freedom. Now, let's firstly imagine a leader you dislike. Now, imagine that leader controlling and leading the entire world. If a world government decides to take away your internet or your freedom, then there's nothing you can do about it. You don't get to say anything about it. Currently, there are separate nations. So, if there is a rise of dictator in one or a bad leader, then the citizens of that country can simply leave the country and go to another country and where they can be more comfortable. But then, if there's only one country in the world, then where will the citizens seek help? Where will they go? My second point is about loss of culture. There are 7,000 languages across the world, and one language is lost every other 2 weeks. But now imagine a world government establishing a global language. This will just aspirate the cultural genocide genocide in the name of efficiency. My third point is about death of innovation. Death of innovation will cause dull minds, monotonous life, and a boring life. How will there be death of innovation? If there is no rivalry between nations, if there are no different nations and there is no rivalry, then how will they compete each other? How will they have the driving force to be better than each other and invent new things? That we'll just living a monotonous, boring and dull life where we are supposed to follow one set of rules every day. Now, let's look at the more logical side of this. Having one country in the entire world is unrealistic. Applying one globe, one country concept is unrealistic. I have 3 points for this. Firstly, we have 7 continents in this world, 8.2 billion living across the world. Do you think we can just unite all these different backgrounds, cultures, traditions, origin? We can just not unite these all. There will always be conflict going on. And how will the government be able to manage all this? 8.2 billion people, think about it. We'll have so many thoughts and needs to satisfy. We won't be able to do that. A world government won't be able to do that. And according to data, if the world government will be established, then the world government will take more than half of the global wealth to just manage the world, not to improve it. Moving on to my second point, like my fellow opponent said, we used to live in tribes. Our human is a political being by nature, and it won't ever change. The feeling of living in tribes won't ever change. This is something we have adapted since centuries, and this will always stay in our hearts. This being, this nature will always stay. It won't just disappear. We still have cultures, groups in different corners of the world. Why? Because there's still tribes. Because there's still the feeling of tribes and being in your own group, being having a feeling of belongingness. So you can't just unite everyone. You can't unite everyone in the snap of your fingers like that. My third and last point is about civil war. If there's 7,000 languages in the world, billions and billions of cultures, traditions, then how will you unite this? If you just force them to unite, eventually a civil war will break out every other decade. Actually, according to statistics, all those wars that has happened till now, 72% of the war 72% of the wars are civil wars. So there's more conflict going on inside the borders rather than outside the borders. With these points, I would like to conclude my debate, and I firmly stand with the stand that concept of one globe, one country is a utopian threat to sovereignty, identity, and freedom. Thank you.
Thank you for that insightful opening. As we see, a good beginning is a half the work done. Now we invite speaker 2 for Asisha Kharga up on the stage from Upper Education.
And those stop the clapping as we invite Shriya Sharma up to the podium.
Good morning to the esteemed panel of judges, respected teachers, my fellow debaters and all the audience present here today. I am Aslisha Kharka and I stand resolutely for the motion that one globe, one country is a necessary evolution of the human civilization. Imagine this, a lone astronaut floating on the ISS looking down upon the Earth. What does he see? He sees a beautiful, fragile blue marble. No borders, no lines, no flags that divides us and them. From that point of view, our battles over sovereignty seem like small ants arguing over a single leaf while a giant storm is approaching us. The world that we live in is described as an archipelago of anarchy by the political scientist Daniel Dewey, which means clusters of islands with no single authority, unable to unite to defend against the various threats that affect us all. Firstly, the greatest threat to our freedom is not a global system, but our current sovereignty trap. We are held captive by the war machine where nations are spending more than $2.2 trillion every year on the defenses. Now imagine even if a small portion of that wealth were to be redirected to end world hunger, ensure clean water, facilitate healthcare, or even protect the lives of people who are suffering from various kinds of diseases. The problems that claim far more lives than war itself. Secondly, the global survival threats can only be solved when the nations unite, not when they are divided. The climate change is already causing various droughts, floods, and rise in the sea levels. Similarly, the COVID-19 pandemic had already killed more than 7 million people worldwide, showing us how the slow and separate national responses could cost lives. The modern threats such as the unregulated artificial intelligence is global by nature and ignores the national boundaries. So, when a threat is global by nature, the response must be global in power and purpose. Similarly, my opponents argue that this global pact would lead to homogenize the culture and erase the national identities. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Because what a global pact does, because this is not about regulating your national dance, this is about removing the landmines from your dance floor. A global pact helps to protect or armor that culture against the true threats of this world. Similarly, as my own teammates have already stated, that since the ancient times we have already seen a pattern where small tribes have evolved to kingdoms, kingdoms have evolved to nations. This union has brought peace and prosperity, not erased identity. Similarly, I could give you a perfect example where the European Union helped to end centuries of bloody wars between France and Germany. This was very important to end the entire various disputes between the country. Similarly, I would like to show everyone a simple yet historic hand gesture that many of you will recognize. This is the hand gesture of Prithvi Narayan Shah himself, the one who united this very land that we are standing upon, that we proudly call Nepal. What he did was not erase our culture. We are still Bahun, Chetri, Mogar, Gurung, Limbu, Newar, etc. All he did was provide all of us a roof that is strong enough to protect us. Lastly, I would like to encourage everyone here in this room to have the courage to unite. We must have the wisdom to know that when we are divided, a house cannot stand. But when the entire globe unites, it is a home. So I would like to encourage everyone again to fight for the unity, fight for freedom, and fight for the globe. Thank you.
With great power comes great responsibility. Many of you have heard this quote used in many movies and cinema. Now, I believe with full faith that this idea would not work because mainly humans are built on power. Mainly the most people that we know, KPOE, Donald Trump, Kim Jong-un, these people have controlled their country. They have become dictators. They have used their power, used it to fill their bank accounts. They have done a lot of bad things. This system will definitely not work. This system would require a leader. We have already seen the United Nations. Even in the United Nations, which is a sophisticated organization, our voices have been ignored. Nepal has been in the UN for over 70 years. There have been many conferences in which Nepal has not even spoken. We have only spoken in the General Assembly about 2 times. 2 times is what we have spoken. That is absolutely atrocious. That is nothing compared to what we should be doing. We could develop, we have a lot of things to do. If the entire globe became one country, what would be the chances that our voices are actually heard? Even in the UN, some countries are missing out. There are a lot of countries missing out in the UN. Some countries are taken over. Some areas are considered Okay, once they're not even part of the border. Now I think Vishal, my opponent, mentioned the UN in the part of their debate. Now, if our voices are ignored in that organization, how can you, like, anyone tell me how that our voices will be heard in the entire globe? There are so many countries, so many islands, so many republics that I don't think there will be any way that our voices will be heard. Also, the entire world coming into one piece will not be the end. It will split. There will be provinces, there will be regions, and there will still be inequality, there will still be war, there will be civic unrest. That will make the idea of the globe coming as one into a complete sham. Now, our identity is in our tradition. Mahatma Gandhi said that the culture resides in the heart and soul of the people. Nepal is a country with unity in diversity. We must protect this. If we lose our identity to global trends, how will we repay our ancestors who paid with their lives? How will we pay the martyrs that lost their entire lives for our country? With this pondering question, I will bid you goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you for that engaging exchange of ideas. I also joined that having a hard time deciding the winners. And now to consolidate the proposition's case with persuasion and impact, we invite Speaker 3, Ryan Trishna from the affirmative.
And now, to bring together the opposition's case with clarity, logic, and persuasion, we invite Speaker Sri Bidyon Madhikari from the negative team.
A warm good morning to everybody present here. So I'd like to start off my debate with a small story I'd like to share. Do you know what happened on the date of 1968? Well, if you don't know, I'll tell you. On the date of specifically 1968, the world came together. They launched Apollo 8, the mission for outer space. They launched Apollo 8. You know what the astronauts saw when they looked back at Earth? They didn't see borders drawn by lines or blood. They didn't see borders separating each other. They just saw one blue home where we all coexist. So, good morning to everybody here. I'm Rance Chester from grade 9 Matrix, and today I stand firmly for the motion that the concept of one globe, one country is a necessary evolution of human civilization rather than a utopian threat to sovereignty, identity, and freedom. So, I would like to say that satellites fly over the earth. They don't care about borders. So why do we? When one nation cannot even control its traffic, how can we imagine it to run itself? And I'd also like to state that unity is not formed by a leader. It is formed by the people who choose a leader. So I'd like to start off by questioning one of the points my opponent said. He said that who will lead this one country that is formed in one globe? Well, we already have the answer by various committees such as SARC, EU and the League of Nations. They do not run under one leader. They have picked one leader from each country that is participating in the organization, and they speak equally. So I'd also state that the EU, formed of 27 European nations, did not crumble, did not falter when UK left them. They didn't end when the Greek crisis appeared. They persevered united together. They also stated the question of economy. Under one border, there are poor countries. On the other border, there are rich countries. Well, I'd like to counteract this statement by saying that if we unite under one nation, do you know why poverty exists? It is because trade, export, import are high. And if we unite under one nation, there is no problem of export and import when we live on the same planet. And I'll also state that my opponent also questioned that we are at a tribal state. We still feel like we are at tribes. Well, I'd like to state the difference between what a tribe and a community, a social or a society of human beings is. Tribes were unorganized. They were not united. They just lived together in the name of unity. But we, right now, together, we unite ourselves and stand here firmly. So, I'd also like to say a quote, Kyokusen, that is Japanese for coexistence and co-prosperity. It is a very famous motto in various TV shows from Japan, also in a lot of Asian countries. We follow coexistence and co-prosperity. Imagine the year 2050, where sea levels rise by 200 kilometers, which is an estimated by various environment scientists. And what do we do when 190 nations negotiate about problems but don't care about their own people, about the population of the world? When the world is at a halt, when we have wars, we don't care about who this person is of nationality. We care about our own humanity. To question the other person on their own religion is to state that we are not unified. My opponent also stated that martyrs fought for our nation. Well, I think he is wrong. The martyrs of Nepal to end the Rana Sasana, they fought not for the people, they fought for unity. And to unite under one nation is to exactly fulfill what our martyrs said long ago. And on another question that my opponents arise is unity will eliminate identity. Well, I'd like to say that Nepal itself cannot protect its own culture. So, I'd like to also state that in the American states, Nepali culture is very at a high. They promote Nepali. And since we ourselves cannot promote it, I think it's a better choice to unite under one nation where we all respect each other. And another miscommunication I heard in my opponent's speech was they said genocide. Funny to think that they don't know the meaning of genocide, because they said genocide of tradition. Genocide does not mean eliminating tradition. Genocide means the elimination of one body of a single religion's population. So I don't think that genocide is quite the right word to put. And I'd also like to I'd like to end my speech by saying that en place mere, which means one for many. We must unite under ourselves. Unity isn't uniformity. It is to help ourselves. Thank you.
Let me ask you a simple question. Let's say tomorrow we have a single government. What if the government turns oppressive? Who will we run to? Who will save us? Who will save the minorities? I extend my warm greetings to the honorable panel of jury, respected teachers, respected friends, my respected opponents, and all the cheerful audience present here today. I, Vidyogma Adhikari from Great and Moksha, am truly honored to be standing here as the third speaker opposing the motion. The concept of one globe, one country is a necessary evolution of human civilization. No, it is a utopian threat to sovereignty, identity, and freedom. You see this balloon in my hand. Let's suppose this is the one government that we have. Everything is in its control, everything is in its power. Let's say a simple mistake happens, a little mishap, the balloon weakens. Let's say a corrupt leader rises. There is no one to stop the corruption. What happens is the balloon pops. Just like this, our government would pop as well. This is a metaphor, cool metaphor that I brought up on this topic to show that how simple mistakes in a unified government, as my opponent stated, would lead to a global destruction. Let's go economically. In 2023, the global GDP was $105 trillion. But that wasn't just of one nation, that was of different nations. From China, from Russia, from India, from USA, all of them. Let's compare this to the 2008 economic downfall of the United States. In 2008, when the US economy fell, other countries worked together. Other countries, their innovations stood out and the economy did not fall completely. My opponents, I would like to rebuttal this, my opponents stated that Prithvi Narayan Shah united Nepal. Isn't this completely going against their own stance that Prithvi Narayan Shah united Nepal? Why would we want Prithvi Narayan Shah's contributions to go in vain by completely ruining our identity? Because if a single nation is formed, there will be uttermost identity crisis.
Do you think world leaders from dominating countries like United States, Russia, China would allow people from minor countries like Somalia, Nepal, or Burkina Faso their ideas to come up? Because when countries are divided, innovations thrive. When there are multiple countries, there is competition between the countries. That competition is the core reason why innovations exist. If there is only one government, there will be one kind of idea. It will be a point of catastrophic failure. If something goes wrong, everything goes wrong. What if a corrupt leader rises? Who will stop them? Because as Lord Acton once said, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I would like to directly ask my opponents this question. This single world government that they're advertising, who would write the constitution? Whose values will be put forward? Would it be theological? Even if it is theological, which religion will we be following? Catholics, Christians, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, many more. Whose values are we addressing? What guarantee do my opponents have that it would not turn into an authoritarian system, a dictatorship as that of North Korea, where the minorities will not be given any rights? My opponents also stated that in COVID-19, 7 million people died. But in COVID-19, New Zealand did not have even a single outbreak, whereas other countries had. This shows that countries can counterbalance. If one country falls, the another can counterbalance. They can send humanitarian help, but if there is only one nation, they will work for their own nation, and everyone will not be supported. There are about 8.2 billion people living in this world. Do you think one government can take care of all of us? Do you think our vote will matter? 1 in 8 billion. Think about it. You go to vote, you choose a leader. Do you think your vote matters? How many of you have read 1984, the novel by George Orwell? Not many of you. But in 1984, the novel written by George Orwell, he shows us that how propaganda spreads fast. And there is one government, it will turn into an absolute dominant state. Haven't we seen enough examples in history? The Soviet Union, this USSR tried to become a unified nation, but it failed. The Arab Spring, it showed us how sudden authoritarian break can result in chaos. And the British Empire. The British Empire that tried to unite everyone, it ended up making people slaves. We would end up as slaves, there would be slavery, and ultimately there would be a loss of our identity, our sovereignty, what our leaders fought for, it will all go in vain. I would like to end my speech by saying, quis custodes ipsos custodiet, which means who guards the guards themselves in Latin. If there is no one taking care of the government, no one to see what the government does, no one to stop or question the government, what will we do? Who will we run to? I would like to end my speech. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
But we're not done yet. We now move on to the rebuttal round. If you have any rebuttals, please come forward and state.
So I'd like to rebuttal a few of the points my opponents have said. They said that unity will eliminate tradition. Well, I'd like to say unity is not uniformity. We may sit together in one room, we may unite under one flag, but we will not be in uniformity. We have our own identity, but we are still living in unity. Nepal was united by Prithvinarayan Shah, and he united Nepal. Do you know what he said? Yo desh sabai phulharko phulbari ho. That means that we all live in this nation as different flowers of the same garden. Now, imagine uniting the whole world. What a big garden we would make. What a beautiful field we would have. I'd also like to say that yes, our vote matters. Even in that 8.2 billion people, that one vote matters. Do you know why we have a corrupt government? Look at Nepal's government. Every time we vote for KP Oli, do you know why? Because he isn't the right leader. But do you know who sends him to the election?
It is us. So it is not the fault of the one who leads the nation. It is the one of the guy who votes for that election. Now, if we vote for the right person, I don't think a corrupt government will arise. If we only vote for the corrupt man who will destroy the nation ultimately, then I don't think we would have a good government. Now, I'd also like to argue on the state of propaganda. Propaganda. So, seven on
Put it on.
770 million plus people were infected by COVID-19. My opponent argued New Zealand has zero outbreaks, but there are countries with outbreaks. Do you know how many wars prevented other nations from getting the medicine to COVID-19? There are plenty. When China didn't sell their medicine to Russia because of their internal conflict, I don't think the ones to blame were us for not getting treated. It was the country itself who was at war with Russia, who was in propaganda with Russia for them not getting medicine. I'd also like to say that, look at my hand right here. When we separate all 5 fingers, they are weak. One finger alone cannot do anything. But when we unite all our fingers, it forms a fist that can do anything. Imagine one finger as one nation. If we unite all the nations, we can form a fist, a strong fist that can do anything. Thank you.
Thomas Jefferson said that the best government is the government that is the closest to its people. Over here, my fellow opponent talked about the global threats, but how will you apply and control these global threats, these pandemics, these outbreaks, these climate change problems? How will you control those? Will a single government be able to control the problems arising in 7 different continents, in different areas, within people living in 8.2 people living over here on planet Earth? No. How will a government be able to handle all of that problem altogether? No, we need separate countries to handle problems of different areas. We need a government closer to the people, and having separate nation, having sovereignty will just help us to neutralize the global threats. It will help us to find more solutions to these global threats like global warming and environmental problems. My fellow opponent also said that I was talking about genocide, but what I was talking about was cultural genocide. It seems that they didn't listen properly. I was talking about cultural genocide, the literal killing of our cultures, billions and millions of our traditional cultures. If we create a world government, then there won't be any diversity. There won't be any cultures, different cultures, diversity. Right now there are 7,000 languages. How are we maintaining that because there are different nations? But if there's only one government, one country in the whole entire world, then we'll have only one global language. We'll be only implementing one global language. That means the literal eradication of all the billions and millions of cultures and traditions that was supported, that was passed on for generations and generations. My fellow opponent also talked about the unification, but do they know that there is more war going on within a country than outside? Now imagine like one whole world, 8.2 billion with people with 8.2 billion thoughts running through their heads. If you just combine all these nations, the chances of having civil war will just over the history there has been 72% of civil wars. If we just combine it, it will be 100%. With these points, I would like to conclude my presentation.
Okay, so I'm back here to develop a few more points. How I wish my opponents listen to my speech would be my second point, but I would like to argue that they need to listen to their own speeches first. Okay, so they un Vatse mene destin. Everyone has the same destination. That is German, if you wanted to know. So they said that we live in a boring life.
in our own country. Well, aren't you the one that uses online chat to chat with people from the other countries? So how can it be boring when you yourself talk to other people and then you say tradition will not be unified? When you talk to unity with your friends who are from a different nation, how can you say that you can live in harmony? I'd also like to say that they said the EU and the UN failed. Well, they have faced many crises over the years, but they have never faltered. Yes, the League of Nations might have been a flop. Do you know why? It was due to corruption, due to the voting. The power of veto is too much in the UN. The power of corruption is too high. We ourselves are to blame for that, for voting. We need to vote for the right person. Slavery, another point my opponent says. How can we be slaves under one flag? This debate was never about one flag. It was never about living together under one flag. It was about unity, prosperity, and living with our own identity, freedom, and sovereignty. Unity helps protect. Voices are not heard, they said. If voices are not heard, why not speak louder? They talked about evolution. You want to know a statistic about evolution? 700,000 years ago, we were farming. 100,000 years ago, we were in the medieval age. 50,000 years ago, we had already advanced to lead weapons. And 700 years ago, we had already technologically advanced. In the span of 10 years after that, we invented AI. The gap got lesser and lesser as we evolved. Evolution from tribes to community is what we like. We evolved from a tribe to a nation. Now we must evolve from a nation to one globe. I'm not saying that we won't evolve when we go into one globe. Rather, I'm stating that this debate was only down to one question: if humanity itself was ready to evolve. When we ourselves are not ready, who can force us to unite? If we ourselves cannot unite, then who can unite us? We need our own self-esteem to unite. No one can force us. No one is forcing another country to trade with them. As you can see, the mic I'm holding right now, do you know where it came from? It came from the Unity of Nations. Parts from China, made in the US, brought to Nepal. You can see this one mic was more unity than there is unity in this room. When my opponents argue about unity, they don't know what they're speaking from. They themselves are speaking from a mic that is made from unity. Thank you.
I feel like you have not read the motion quite well. Let me repeat it. Is the concept of one globe, one country unnecessary evolution of human civilization or utopian threat to sovereignty, identity, and freedom? You are saying that we are not talking about a single flag. Then what is a country? How do we define a country if we don't call it a single flag? You also said that we're going against unity. We are not going against unity. You think that unity doesn't exist today? It does exist. The United Nations works together. It's still working together to beat global crises such as climate change. And you also said that why are we saying that we're going against unity? We are not going against unity. We are going against the concept of one government controlling us. You said that our votes will matter. How can you guarantee that we will get the opportunity to vote? How can you guarantee that the world dominant leaders will from a country which is democratic? How can you guarantee a democracy when the world is clearly moving towards absolute destruction? Do you think world leaders like Donald Trump, Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin would easily let the world be a one country? Wouldn't there be more wars? Wouldn't there be more disasters? Don't you think World War III will happen and the nuclear weapons will be used? The process of getting into one single nation would be so destructive that humanity would not even exist till we have that one nation. My other opponent stated that wars 100 separate countries, but wars aren't just political. There are multiple wars that are religious, there are wars that are logistical, there are wars happen because of ideologies. Even if we have a single nation, there will be wars, and trust me when I say this, the wars will be much, much, much more dangerous as they will be under one government, and the government will not be able to do anything as everyone is their own citizen. They would have no backbone, there would be no support, and everyone would be in a point of catastrophic failure. I would like to request my opponents to please read the motion first before doing a rebuttal. Thank you.
Well, I'm back to rebuttal to my stubborn opponents actually. You yourself aren't reading the concept properly. You said that we won't, that I myself said that we won't unite under one flag. That is figuratively. One globe, one country. Do you know what that means? We ourselves, the earth itself, unite into one nation. Look up into the sky. You can see the ISS, the International Space Station. Do you know how many countries? Do you know how many countries united to build it? There are many. And do you know where it flies? Above the earth, where there are no borders. We can't see borders made with ink or blood. We only see one blue home, our home. I'd like to also take an example. I think you know what dominoes are. There are 190 plus countries in the world. Align 190 dominoes together. If one falls, the other falls after. It doesn't matter who's at the end. When one falls, the other also falters. United we stand, divided we fall. That is the core concept. If we do not unite, we fall divided. If we ourselves unite into one brick wall, I don't think nothing can take us down like dominoes. And I'd also like to take an example of a music band. If a music band, if one person plays all the instruments, one will be at high key, one will be at a low key. Do you know why that is? We need different players for each instrument. That is key for a perfect band, for perfect music for us to hear. I'd also like to state that one flag, we won't unite under one flag. Do you know why? Because Donald Trump, Putin, and the other presidents won't agree. My opponent said the same thing. Do you know why I disagree with this? It is us. Do you know the plastic pollution agreement that our countries had? The US and China together, they made a pact to reduce pollution. They had a goal set for 2024, and they achieved that goal. Why? They didn't do it themselves. They did it through unity. And I once again like to talk about my time holding. It is made from different parts of the world. If we buy a chip from Morocco, we generate it in China, and the voice box is generated from a different country. In the end, it all comes together. The economy under one flow of cash. The EU has already succeeded in monopolizing the euro. The UN didn't eliminate French culture. India didn't eliminate Tamil culture. Even though they united these nations, they respected their own languages. 7,000 languages. My opponent said there are 7,000 plus languages in the world, but we can unite them all. When we, as one country, cannot protect our own culture, then the others can help us to protect it. We ourselves, as Nepali, cannot protect our culture, but we together can. Thank you.
My fellow opponent was talking about dominoes. Now if you put those dominoes together, it will take a prolonged amount of time to fall. Let's say you make a tower. You make a large tower the size of this desk with 190 dominoes, as my opponent said. You knock the bottom over, everything falls down. So now, even in the unification campaign of Prithvi Narayan Saab, he wiped many tribes. Tribes in upper and lower Kiran were killed. History skates over things, bad things that great leaders do. Now, I would like to tell you a quote in Latin. Dulce et decorum pro patria mori. It is Latin for it is sweet and fitting to die for one's identity and motherland.
His time is over.
Now,
Three
when
times over.
identity is challenged, we will require our brothers, sisters, sons, and daughters to die for us again and again. Now, if we don't lose our identity, according to what you say, why don't you know about the Mahat, nor Singhan? Why don't you know about any of them? It's because of global trends. These trends are known as imagery. This is how we lose our identity. If you live in Nepal, I believe you would care more about the place you live in than where we don't live. How can you also guarantee that your idea will go into the government? How will you guarantee that the world leader will take your idea and implement it? Haven't we been shouting in this debate for a long time? Haven't we shouted as loud as we can? How louder can we go? Can you tell me that? Also, you mentioned that lead was used in weapons 50,000 years ago. I don't think that's true. Lead was used in weapons. Have you also seen a tiger grow out of its carnivorous habits? I don't think so. Us humans, we try to grasp our power. Humans have lived in tribes and communities for the entirety of history.